All right, boys, let's dive into something that I like to call generational perspective. And what I mean by that is basically that every single generation has this weird thing where they like to shit on the next generation and think that they got soft hands and that they're little pussies and they don't know how to work hard and they just complain about shit. And this is the stupidest thing that I've noticed, and it's something that every generation does for some reason. Like, every generation just thinks they're the fucking best, and that the generation besides, like, that's after them is just a bunch of pussies. And it's the stupidest shit. Like, shut up, man. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, the thing is, the generation before us can never understand the struggles that we face because things were just different. So it's not necessarily their fault that they think like that, because it is just like inherently a generation thing. Like, my mom, who's 65 years old, isn't going to be able to understand my perspective on things. So like, if I'm complaining about certain shit, or if I'm like, oh, it's so hard to get a job, even if you get a college degree, all this shit, she's not going to understand that from my perspective, because obviously she grew up in a completely different time, which is understandable. But it becomes a problem when people start shitting on people from like a newer generation just because they're complaining about shit, when in reality they had never had to face the same shit. For example, currently our generation, like Gen Z and whatever, the fucking Generation Alpha, we're going through a job market crisis. You know, prices are at an all-time high. Everything costs a lot. Cost of living is at an all-time high. Interest rates are high. And, you know, we're not getting paid shit. You know, nowadays it's not enough to just go to college and be an average student, get a degree, even if you went in debt, and all that, those 4 years you spent, that shit ain't enough to get a job no more. And that's the hard truth, you know? The generation before us didn't have to deal with that shit. Millennials didn't have to deal with that shit. If you were a millennial and you just fucking went to school and you got decent grades, A's, B's, C's, and you just weren't a fucking bot, then you were pretty much guaranteed a job and guaranteed a structured path to success. But that's not the case in today's world, boys. That is not the fucking case, you know? So it's just something that I noticed. It's that we need to stop this cycle from repeating, because, you know, the kids that are younger than us, you know, it's just different. The world is different, and you can't blame them for that. Just because someone has a problem that seems smaller to you doesn't mean it's not a problem.